we're looking at the Western Conference. There's a lot of cool matchups looking at the bracket here, looking at the West. Clippers Nuggets is a rivalry that I feel like doesn't get talked about as often as it probably should. I feel like they've met up in the playoffs since the bubble a few times now, I want to say. Sure, if I'm wrong, somebody will correct me underneath me. But there's a few times that they've played together. We got Lakers Timberwolves, which I think is going to be very interesting. The new look Laker team with, thanks for everything, Mr. Doncic leading the squad. I really like that matchup. But there's also another Warriors versus team of young, hungry players matchup. Mm-hmm. And the last time this happened was Warriors versus the Kings, when the Kings were the 3 seed and the Warriors were the 6. And I was all over it. As Dario will confidently tell you. Yeah. I was all over it. I thought for sure that the Warriors' time was done. And when was this? 2023, Dario? 2020?
Yeah, 2 years
ago. Yeah, I think so.
I think it might have been 22. I think that's when the Warriors won the chip.
Possibly. It was one or the other. But I was sure they were cooked. It was over for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, this Kings team is awesome. They move the ball super fast. They have lots of cool players and lots of young hotness. I'm about the young hotness. And I thought for sure that the Warriors dynasty was done and, whatever. And they beat them in 7. And it was a good series. You know what I mean? It was a really good series, but the Warriors still held off. The old Lion still held off the young Lion, right? In the Battle of the Jungle.
Steph had
I feel like it's a similar.
Right?
Say that again?
I think Steph had a 50 piece in that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. Either game 6 or game 7, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think we have a very similar situation here with the Rockets, because if you look at this Rockets team, or look at here, like 7 guys in double figures in the last 15 games. I like to pull up the stats of the last 15 games when we're looking at the playoffs, because I feel like if we look at stuff in November, it's not as accurate as looking at stuff, in the last couple months or the last month. So I pulled up these stats, and like I said, 7 guys in double figures, right?
Depth. Mm-hmm.
Depth. They have, in the same way as the Kings with Sabonis, they have a big man who can dominate the paint inside, which is the Warriors' weakness. And that is Alperen Sengun. If you don't know a lot about Alperen Sengun, that's on you, because that brother can ball. He is fire. He's one of my favorite young players in the league, especially young centers. He could do a lot of damage, averaging 19, 10, and 5 going into his last 13 games. We just saw Zach Edey get what? I don't know, well over 10 rebounds against the Warriors in the play-in game.
Yep.
So there's definitely a universe where the Rockets have that, and they also have the ability to lock up Curry or contain Curry a little better. So the last matchup they had was actually not that long ago in April, and Curry only had 3 points. He was 1 of 10, 1 of 8. It's one of his worst games of all time. And
it was a game that mattered too, because they were I think they were locked in as the 6th seed at one point, and then they just went on like a semi-losing streak.
It's going to be difficult in the playoffs, though, to give all of your attention to Steph Curry when you got playoff Jimmy locked in.
Yes,
I'm so excited, dude. Well, that's the thing. It's so funny looking at this, because it's this is why veteran players care less about their seeding in the regular season and just save their legs and save their energy for the playoffs. Because the Houston Rockets worked all year and kicked ass all year to be a 2 seed, just to end up getting the Warriors, who are literally one of the hottest teams in the league, coming in. They're 17-6 in their last 23 games. Right. And, with Jimmy Butler locked in, both guys just had a 37 and 38 point night. It's that is your reward for getting the 2nd seed in this Western Conference. And so it's honestly, it probably would have been better if they fell off a little bit and were a 3rd or 4th seed, but it's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. So we could start here, honestly. How do you guys feel about this Young Lion, Old Lion series? Because I think that I'm in the same exact spot I was in last time. I want to pick the Rockets, but history says I should not go against the Golden State Warriors. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
It's actually pretty interesting because both teams like actually rank pretty similarly throughout the regular season. I think Houston was 13th in offense, 6th in defense. Warriors was 17th in offense, 8th in defense. So it's not like they're like super far off like on paper either. I think when you bring them into a series though, you're gonna literally have an extremely experienced team and a head coach who's just been there before. And this is like when you rank the like where this is in toughest like series or matchups in their like lifetime, it's not even close to number one. And this is probably going to be one of the biggest series for all these Houston guys. So
definitely,
yeah, I just think it's gonna be just hard to beat that. I did like the way that they played against Steph though. So like I feel like if you can contain Steph and make it super difficult on him, it'll definitely go far. I'm thinking the Warriors in 6 should be like based off of just experience alone. I feel like that should happen. But I feel like Houston can make it a longer series. I can't imagine them winning.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Jimmy? Historically, I'm not big on young teams whose talent are spread evenly throughout the roster. You know, it's like they're deep and they tend to be good regular season teams that can win a lot of games. But when it comes playoff time, you need a couple things. You need that superstar player who can take over games late. And a lot of times you need that experience, that poise, sometimes that leadership from coaching even, to make the adjustments, because that's what the playoffs is all about. Like, sure, they might win game 1, but that's when the chess game starts and those adjustments are being made. And this Warriors team went out with Jimmy Butler, who also has plenty of experience in the playoffs. I just think it's going to be tough. I don't want to come across like I'm just writing off this Houston team, because from top to bottom, I think they're the much deeper team. But in the areas where it really matters in a 7-game series, I don't know. I just think I got the Warriors in 6 or 7. And just Jimmy's he's doing what he's always done. And it was crazy to me when I was hyping up him coming to the Warriors and people were like, he's old and he's falling off. I'm like, we do this every time he finds himself on a new team. And then he makes noise when it's time to make noise. This is what he does. And so I'm expecting big performances from him. We'll see about Steph. I do think that's the key, is how's Steph going to do. But I mean, Jimmy could just take over. So we'll see.
Yeah. And his aggressiveness, like, really, I think, kind of complements Steph, because I think last game, like, he drew a ton of fouls. Like, I think he shot like 18 free throws or something like that. But Steph, off of like stupid mistakes that they were making, shot like 13 free throws and went 13 for 13. So like just that could get Steph going.
Sure. Russell, what do you think?
Dude, Dario's going to give me so much.
I knew you were going to do this.
But like I said, my heart says Rockets in 7. They just have so much firepower, and they have the right things to stop the Warriors. They have basketball math says, honestly, Rockets in 6, if I'm being really honest with you.
Yeah.
That's what the basketball math says.
Yep.
But and maybe we'll get into this a little further on a different day, but like, this is what I hate about how the rules change throughout the playoffs, or between the playoffs and the regular season. This is what I hate, because in my head, I'm like, well, it's the same game. It should be,
it's not.
It's not the same game. It's not the same game. Yeah. It's completely different. And that's why more people watch during the playoffs and the regular season. That's why people are always worried, oh no, the ratings are falling off. I'm very interested to see what the playoff ratings are this year. But again, different story for a different day. Because
when you're talking about it being different, though, not everybody knows what you're talking about. What are you talking about when you're saying the game's different in the playoffs? Clarify, because I know we've had this conversation. So but what are you talking about?
There's 2 things that change, one of which is understandable and part of the deal, and the other is completely within the league's control. So one of which is just the natural competitions of the game get way more intense. Every game matters way more, and the players get way more into it because of that. The second thing is the rules tighten up very, very aggressively. And calls that you'd get in the regular season become null and void by playoff time.
Mhm.
And it screws up, especially young players who have never been in the playoffs before, because they have an expectation that they're supposed to get certain calls and certain plays throughout the game that they're just simply not getting because it's April. And I think that I've always thought that is a very stupid way to run your business. Like,
Well, I would say this.
make it to playoffs all year. Like I'm cool with that. Let's do it all year.
But if everybody's approaching it from the mindset, of like, let's, this is the playoffs now, we have to play more aggressive. Do you want it to just be a whistle contest? Or my idea is I like the fact that the refs put away their whistles and let the guys let their talent and let their will determine the series. Yeah. And so that's a part of it that
I like consistency. Whatever it is in the playoffs, it should be in the regular season.
But guys don't play with consistent effort. Yeah. You said that yourself, and so that's what makes it difficult.
That's what I mean. There's there's one that's completely controllable and understandable, and one that's completely within the league's control. The league can control how the rules are officiated between the playoffs and the regular season. The vast difference. I hate that because there's like James Harden, right? There's two things for James Harden, right? A lot of people have said he falls off in the playoffs, right? And there's a lot of explanations for that, but two that I really think of a lot is, one, he had to carry the offense all year long and he gets really tired in the playoffs. Like, that's a thing. It's not an excuse for people before him, but it's just part of the deal. And the other is the guy got calls in the regular season that very consistently every single night, that all of a sudden, the moment it turns into the spring, now all of a sudden he doesn't get those calls and his game's completely changed. Now,
maybe he should have tried flopping and maybe just try to finish through the contact. I don't know.
No, maybe they just shouldn't have called that stuff in the regular season. That's my point. My point. If he didn't call it all regular season, then I would have no problem.
I'm cool with that.
How can you expect guys to do their job efficiently and up to the level you want them to do it at when you change the rules halfway through the year? That doesn't make any sense. So I'll say Warriors in 7 to get back on topic. Okay. I'll say Warriors in 7.
Yeah.
And I'll be totally fine if it's the Rockets because it really should. Basketball match.
Yeah,
says
the rest of I know wants the Rockets to win this series for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
He gets the spunky young guys that are this 2 seed in the West. Yeah.
The old Lions eventually have to get gutted. Okay? They have to get gutted. That's how the world works.
Think the physicality. You think the physicality is specifically an advantage to the Warriors? I mean, is the Warriors a super physical team? I mean, why specifically is that so?
The experience of knowing that the rules change is a huge advantage.
Sure. Okay.
Draymond knowing what he can and can't.
Well, Draymond will enjoy that. I mean, Draymond will take advantage of that physicality,
and he's going to get in their head because if you remember against Sacramento, he got in Sabonis' head. And that threw off a lot of the
we're going to talk about the East later, but the Orlando Magic last year, for example, they had a series, their first ever series with a lot of these guys in the postseason, and it ended up a lot of those guys had giant dips in their numbers, and that's just because sometimes, even besides the calls, sometimes the pressure cooker of the NBA playoffs, when it's your first time getting used to it, all kinds of legends have said, it's a totally different game. The game changes. I wasn't necessarily ready for it, etc. And then you grow as that's where experience makes the big difference. So my brain says, my heart says Warriors in 6, but I'll say out loud Dubs in 7. What do we got? All right, Lakers fans. I know I'm wearing the Luka shirt, but take it away.
All right. I love this series because I've become an Anthony Edwards fan as well. So this is kind of just going to be like all fun, and it's revenge between Edwards and Luka from last year because he got booted last year and he's about to get booted again.
I thought you were going to say between Julius Randle and the Lakers.
Yeah, I know. And they're going to be torturing Julius, and we already know what Luka loves to do to a big French guy. Can't even remember his name. Gobert. He loves just making him a ballerina, So I definitely got Lakers in 6. Could even go 5. I think it's gonna be Lakers win this series and pretty much like control it throughout.
I love Dario because, like, the dude, he actually knows a lot of basketball and he actually knows a lot of NBA history. And then he'll come on my channel and he'll say something like, "Who's that one guy? He's tied for like the most defensive players of the year ever. Can't remember his name. Rudy Gobert." Like, what are you doing, Dario?
Yo,
I like to
he just forgets key
Gobert's
players'
name.
names at like great moments, and everybody thinks this guy doesn't even know ball. I haven't been big on this Minnesota team basically since the start of the season. I do think I'm not the biggest Karl Anthony Towns fan. Neither is Russell. I know Russell's not. I'm a huge Karl Anthony Towns fan compared to Russell.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But it was a better fit. Like the way they operate and the way like last year's playoffs, like their bread and butter was get the ball to Anthony Edwards' hands in the fourth quarter, let him attack the basket, and he has one of two options: either go up strong or kick out to one of his shooters. Now the spacing and the ball movement and everything has been all kind of out of whack all season, and they're just not. They don't have the chemistry that they had last year. So I think that's going to be a big issue. And then just with LeBron and Luka, man, and Austin Reeves, who a lot of people are saying now is the best third option in the NBA today. I'm not sure if I quite agree with that, but
is this a big three? Does this count?
It's not a big three, but he's a legitimate third option. He's what Shaq and Kobe wanted,
true.
In the first three-peat. But so he's a great third option, and just LeBron senses the moment, man. And he knows that this is probably his last realistic chance at an NBA championship with a motivated Luka. And so I like the Lakers this series. I think it would have been a lot more interesting if they were going up against last year's Minnesota Timberwolves. But with this group, I think it's going to be the Lakers, and I kind of think it's going to be comfortable. I'm saying 6 games, maybe 5, but probably 6 games.
Yeah. I do want to add, I do think that Minnesota has a lot of defensive players that can fare well against the Lakers. So I don't think it's going to be I feel like we should control it just because of the experience and just how Luka and LeBron kind of control a series. Now I imagine both of those guys kind of going about their game. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch. But they do have defensive pieces that they can put on them, and that's why I think they're ranked 5th in defense or something like that. Minnesota is.
Yeah, but I honestly like the way Minnesota matched up more when the Lakers had Anthony Davis. Now with LeBron and Luka on the perimeter and Austin Reeves as their 3 best players, Rudy Gobert doesn't really get to use his strong defense on one of the best players on the team. And I don't know. I think as good as Rudy is defensively, sometimes he looks lost out there when it comes to just easy pick and roll plays. And I think as much as he gets crapped on, Jackson Hayes does pretty good in the pick and roll with Luka. And so I expect them to be hurting him in that way. So I don't know. We'll see. But I am confident in this Lakers team that's pretty hot right now. And they are very confident at the moment. But I think, honestly, more than anything, it's just my lack of confidence in Minnesota's change that I didn't feel was necessary.
Yeah.
You said the Lakers are hot right now?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I had heard that right.
Sorry, I didn't know who you were talking to. My bad.
You said they're hot. You said they're hot right now. Go throw to the screen, please, Joe. So Lakers are 8-7, right? And the Timberwolves are 11-4. I would say the Timberwolves are coming in a little hotter than the LA Lakers.
Yeah, hold on,
I'm not done yet. Not done. Just 2 more things. Julius Randle has actually looked amazing in the last 15 games. I was just looking at his stats, and I can't believe he's shooting anywhere remotely near or over 50%. Historically, this guy is the world's biggest black hole.
Okay, exactly. He's the biggest black hole, and that's the thing about Julius Randle is he fools people with numbers. He's going to get his.
No, he does.
Man is aggressive. He was on my Lakers for years. I know this guy. Okay, he is definitely a black hole. He definitely loves to shoot, and he likes to attack the rim, and so generally his percentages are pretty high. I am not expecting 42% from 3 to be consistent over this 7-game series. So anyway, you are more confident in Randle than I am. That's for sure.
Historically, never, ever really high in terms of shooting. He's got 1 year for your team where he shot 50%.
You're making my case.
And then the Pelicans here. Yeah, I was never not making your case. My point is, here's what I was bringing up all this to say. I think that it's going to be a much more difficult matchup than you guys seem to make it, because I watched the Lakers team live in person that kind of left it up in the air to a Mavericks team that had no business being there, right? That wasn't that long ago. What was that? Last week, right? I think unless you're going to have a LeBron James start to, maybe ramp it up. Like, can LeBron still ramp it up at 40?
Yes.
Into playoff LeBron? Like, yes. Are we sure that's, or is
we just saw him do that? We just saw him do that in Dallas. And that's the thing. You can't use that game as a basis. You're like, that was a weird game. The Lakers look out of sorts. Yeah, because everybody was committed to give the Luka the ball and let him go to work. It was the Luka concert. Like, the Lakers weren't all playing as a cohesive unit.
I just think I think if the Lakers are going to win comfortably, like you guys are saying, the only way you win comfortably against a team with Rudy Gobert on it is to just stretch him off the floor and get him out of there.
That's what they're going to do.
They can do it. They could, but they're going to have to they're going to have to be consistent at making threes, right? Which again, this is all stuff that could happen.
Reeves, absolutely,
but definitely happen. But
this was actually the point I was just about to try to make. Rudy Gobert, in every single series that he's played in, like I think since forever, has always been he's been like one of the best defensive players throughout the regular season and everything. And then the reason his team loses is because they just attack him, and they just always take advantage of him. And that's definitely going to happen in this series. LeBron and Luka are going to take advantage of Rudy throughout the entire series.
With all the switches and screens, possibly.
He still has horror dreams.
Possibly.
Last year, what Luka did to him. What are we talking about right now? That's his nightmares. There's commercials about it.
I'm just saying. I think
the whole ballerina dance, bro. Like, what are we talking about?
I think you're going to need a certain level of production from guys that, outside of LeBron and Luka, like Austin Reeves has been great this year, but are we expecting him to get to? So this is what he's averaging in the last 13 games. He's averaged 23.2, making over three threes a game. Damn, that's a tongue twister. And almost 50, 40, 90.
I think he'll get us
his shooting.
The things you're worried about, though, Russell, are like the kind of reasons why I just don't have confidence in this Minnesota team. Because one of the things I didn't even bring up, like the way Ant, and I hope he got this addressed, I hope his number one goal in the summer was to work on his stamina, basically his endurance and just his conditioning and all that. Sure. I don't know what his diet is, but it looks like the dude eats too much candy or something. It looks like he was on that Lamar Odom diet because he was just gassed trying to guard Kyrie Irving. And now you've got LeBron and Luka and Austin Reeves on the perimeter as your perimeter threats and assignments. Like, bro, it's going to be a long, long series, and I hope his legs can hold up. And so, again, it's not even that I just think the Lakers are the team of the West. I think the OKC is fantastic. It's more just about I just have a lot of question marks with this Minnesota team.
We are the team of the West, 100%. That's definitely what
somebody has to say something else. I will assume Lakers will win this series, but like if ESPN's going crazy by game 4, going, where's the Lakers defense? Anthony Edwards is going crazy. It wouldn't shock me at all. Like not even a little bit would it shock me. Like, because this happens every
in the first round.
Every playoff, there's always some weird thing that happens that, like, again, basketball math says one thing, and then the playoffs tell you why basketball math is not a thing.
And Ant was that guy for the first series, for the first round last year. Like, he didn't have issues in the first round. So you're right. You got a point, but I just don't trust him is all I'm saying.
Sure. Bron's only lost one first-round series in his entire career.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a good thing it's not 0. Otherwise, I would be more scared.
But it took like 20 years for it to happen. What are we talking about? I don't know.
No, and he didn't have Luka that one year. I guarantee you that.
Dumbass.
But all right,
they give the chip 80. Come on.
I was like, way to be grateful, Dario. Damn.